Writing food blog posts is so much more than writing a personal story about yourself or telling us how you spent a beautiful day with your grandmother picking berries for this very recipe. In this video, I'm going to teach you all about how to write a food blog post that keeps both Google and your readers happy. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jackie. I'm a full-time blog writer for food bloggers. Make sure you subscribe to get my best tips to use your writing skills to make more money online. And if you want my top 5 tips for launching and growing your own blog writing business, you can grab my free training in the description below. Now, before we get into actually writing the food blog post, it's really important to remember 3 things. Number 1, don't try to be someone else. A lot of food blogger super fans stick around your content because they like you and they want to get to know you better. So it's important to sprinkle your personality into the writing and to keep all the writing consistent with your personal voice and style. And second, stick with the same blog format for every blog post that you write. Keeps things consistent and it's going to make writing the post a lot faster. And third, it needs to be SEO optimized. This means that you want to incorporate high traffic and low competition keywords throughout the body of the post so that it has a chance to rank higher in a Google search. So chances are you've already seen a food blog post and you've seen that they cover all sorts of topics. And if you've never written one before, you might be thinking, why do they include that information? Is it important? And I'm here to tell you yes to all of the above. If you want your food blog post to be informative, then it should cover these topics: the introduction or recipe features, the ingredients, simplified how to make instructions, helpful tips, substitutions and variations, frequently asked questions, and at the bottom, a list of more relevant recipes. Right off the bat, we want to have an engaging introduction at the top of the blog post. In this introduction, it kind of gives us the main highlights of the recipe. And by listing those main highlights, it's almost like a sales pitch, right? You're trying to suck the reader in. You want to intrigue them a little bit. You want to get them interested so that they stay on your website and learn more about the recipe and eventually they try the recipe. All right, so moving on to the ingredients and how-to instructions. We want to put a very simplified version of these things in the actual blog post. By going over the list of ingredients, it tells the reader why those ingredients are important and what they add to the recipe. Maybe they're important in terms of flavor, or in baking, you definitely want to have like baking powder or baking soda so that the cake will actually rise. Like, they play a very important role in that recipe. If your reader happens to be reading through the whole blog post, they'll notice that they cannot skip these ingredients and that they have to use them in order to get the desired result. If it's at all possible to make the recipe allergen-free, or there are substitutions that you can make in order to make it gluten-free, or whatever the person needs, then it's helpful to include substitution ideas in the ingredients. Now, as for the recipe instructions, we also want to keep these really simplified because you don't want to just copy and paste the original directions right into the blog post. The reader can already find that in the recipe card. In order to make the most helpful content possible, it's a good idea to include some very simplified directions and then to have coordinating process images along with the directions. That way, if the reader has a question about maybe what the batter should look like or what the prep process looks like, then they have examples in the post. Google also really likes when you just make things as clear and as informative as possible. So really simple directions and detailed process shots are number 1. Awesome. Super great. Good job, says Google. All right, moving on to the key tips and variation ideas for the recipe. As you're testing the recipe, chances are that you're going to make a lot of adjustments and write a few things down as you're going through these multiple tests. What have you discovered during these tests? Is there something that the reader should know? You want to write these down in the helpful recipe tips section. It's just a really simple section that you can just lay out in bullet points and include all the tips that you have learned from your recipe test. Or if it's a more popular recipe like chocolate cake, then it's easy to look at the food bloggers who are already ranking for the chocolate cake keyword and see what kind of tips that they're including. And if you feel that they relate to your recipe, then you can include a variation of that tip that they included. The recipe variation ideas are very similar to the substitutions that we talked about in the ingredients section, but variations kind of are designed to either enhance a recipe or they're more related to like allergies or dietary preferences. This is the part of the blog post where you gotta get a little bit more creative. You gotta have to think of pairing ideas. It's where the reader can put their own spin on your recipes. Include a few variation ideas that are actually going to pair well with the recipe and not alter it too much. The The frequently asked questions section is an important one, both for the reader, but also for Google and SEO optimization. A lot of food bloggers use a tool called the Yoast FAQ. This is just a tool that formats the questions and answers really well. They're usually like a click and expand feature, so they're tucked away in your blog post, but they're still there so that if someone Googles the question that you just happen to have in your blog post, then chances are that your blog post is going to rank a little higher in the Google search because you've included that helpful information. If you're not sure which FAQs to include in your blog post, then it really helps to get your research on and use a couple tools to give you ideas for questions to include. You can do this by simply Googling your primary keyword or the title of your recipe, or you can use a tool called Answer the Public, or another one called Detailed. These two tools are similar to keyword research tools, but they pull the common questions that people are searching for from Google and then compile them all in a spreadsheet so that you can review them and you can find out which ones are common enough that you want to include a variation of them in your post. All right, so to conclude the blog post, we want to get a little bit more engaging with the reader. This is a good time to link to relevant recipes that are already on your food blog. You can either keep it simple and just leave that list of recipes right there at the bottom, or you can get a little bit more engaging and encourage your readers to leave their comments and the feedback or a star rating on the recipe card itself. This just comes in the form of a really simple sentence of like, if you tried this chocolate cake recipe, let us know what you think by giving us a star rating and leaving a comment below. It's always good to hear from your readers, and by encouraging that interaction and discussion, there's a little bit more back and forth. You get to know each other a little bit better, and then you build a stronger community of the super fans that we talked about at the beginning. And that is everything you need to include in your food blog post to make both your readers happy and Google happy. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button, or let me know in the comments if you have any questions about how to write a food blog post, or if you want to learn more about launching and growing your own blog writing business.